by Annabelle and Gannon. Our thesis statement was exploring the unique genetics of the deaf community in Kent, England, and on Martha's Vineyard from the 18th to 20th century. It reveals significant insights into heredity, community dynamics, and cultural evolution. What is the deaf gene? The GJB2 gene is one of the genes that contains the instructions for a protein called connexin 26. This protein plays an important role in the functioning of the cochlea. In some populations, about 40% of newborns with a genetic hearing loss who do not have a syndrome have a mutation in the GJB2 gene. This gene is an autosomal recessive gene. This means both parents must carry the gene. They don't have to express it, but they do have to carry it. The cochlea and genetics. The cochlea is a very complex and specialized part of the body that needs many instructions to guide its development and function. These instructions come from genes. Changes in any one of these genes can result in hearing loss, thus leading to being born deaf. The deaf gene in the 18th to 20th century. During this time, the town of Chilmark was extremely populated and home to many deaf people. In the 1850s, one in every 25 residents of Chilmark was born deaf. Eventually, the percent of deaf people on Martha's Vineyard declined due to the amount of residents moving to the mainland. Alexander Graham Bell. Bell was the inventor of the telephone. His wife and his mother were both born deaf. This made him become extremely interested in deafness. He first came to the vineyard in the 1880s. He wanted to study where deafness came to and why the island had such a large population. The main question that Bell asked himself was whether the deafness was inherited or if it was resulted from the environment. He collected a lot of data from families, including their genealogy, birth, marriage, and death records from each town. How deaf genes work in today's time. Deafness is often inherited when both parents pass on a recessive gene, a process known as autosomal recessive inheritance. In this type of inheritance, the gene is located on a non-sex chromosomal pair. Many genes function in a recessive manner. History of deafness in Kent. The Weald region in Kent, England gained attention for having a notable number of deaf residents thanks to the passing down of recessive genes through multiple generations. And here's a video about deaf genetics.
Canadians have hearing loss. 30,000 of those are children. Half of the time, hearing loss is due to non-genetic factors, such as a baby being born prematurely, or a mother and baby having an infection during pregnancy. The other half of the time, hearing loss is due to genetic factors or inherited gene variants. Genetic hearing loss can happen even if there is no one else in the family with hearing loss. There are two types of genetic hearing loss: syndromic and non-syndromic. A syndrome is a disorder that has more than one health issue or symptom. Hearing loss in a syndrome may be the first sign, but the other associated health problems may not develop until later in life. An example of this is Usher syndrome, which can cause both hearing loss and progressive vision loss. The hearing loss is usually present at birth, but the associated vision loss starts later, from childhood to late teens or early adulthood. Your healthcare team can advise you on whether or not further investigations are needed to rule out syndromic hearing loss for your child. When a person has isolated hearing loss, this means that aside from impaired hearing, they have no other health issues. Isolated hearing loss is considered non-syndromic, or not part of a syndrome. 70% of genetic hearing loss is isolated or non-syndromic. The majority of non-syndromic hearing loss is due to variants or errors in a specific gene called GJB2. GJB2 tells the cells of the inner ear to make proteins, which are important for normal hearing. When a genetic testing panel for hearing loss is done at sick kids, The laboratory first looks for those most common variants in this gene. If no variants in the GJB2 gene are found, then a group of other hearing loss genes is examined. Sometimes a gene variant in this group can be found that is associated with a chance the child could develop other health issues. Genetic hearing loss may increase the chance for hearing loss in other family members. There are many reasons why people choose genetic testing. They want to understand the cause of hearing loss in their child, or to know if their child has a chance to develop other health problems, such as in a genetic syndrome. And finally, to find out if there is a chance of it happening again or recurring in the family. When genetic testing is done, there are 4 possible results that can be expected. Testing can reveal a positive result. This means 1 or more variants that explain the hearing loss have been found. If the testing reveals a negative result, this means no variance or explanation for the hearing loss was found, but this does not completely rule out a genetic cause. Since our knowledge about gene variants changes over time, people with negative results are encouraged to check back annually for updates. Another possible finding is a variant of uncertain significance. A variant of uncertain significance is a gene variant that we currently don't have enough information about to know if it is related to hearing loss or other health issues. Sometimes, when found, further testing and evaluations are needed. And finally, a secondary finding could be identified. This means that a variant is found that increases the chance of another health condition to develop that is not related to hearing loss. It is rare to have a secondary finding in a hearing loss panel. It's important to note that sometimes a blood sample or a hearing test is needed from the parents to clarify the results in their child. And remember that a negative test result does not rule out a genetic cause for hearing loss, nor does it rule out all diseases. No matter what the outcome of testing, your doctor or genetic counselor reviews the results with you, and if necessary, they may suggest other testing or specialty referrals. Thank you again for watching. If you are interested in learning more about the genetics of hearing loss or would like to watch other videos, please go to the Center for Genetic Medicine Education site.
Thank you for watching.